This is the lesson for Chapter 7, Section 4, Extension Repeating Decimals. So what we're going to end up doing is changing these repeating decimals to fractions. And if they weren't repeating, it'd be really easy. If it was a terminating decimal, like let's say we had 0 and 4/10, what you do is it terminates because there's no other numbers after the 4. And so all you do is you just rewrite whatever numbers you have to the right of the decimal in the numerator, and you count the spaces in the denominator after the decimal point. There's only one space, so that means we have 1 0. You can also think of this as being in the tenths place, and so whatever place value this is, you write in the denominator. From there, you just reduce the fraction, and so we can divide both the numerator and denominator by 2, and we're left with 2/5. So it makes it really easy for a terminating decimal. Again, just one more example, if it was 25/100ths, we just rewrite the 25, and you count the spaces. You got 1, 2 spaces after the decimal. That means 2 zeros. Or you can think of the 5. The 5 is in the hundredths place, and so that's how we read it, 25/100ths. And then you could take out the common factor of 25, and it reduces down to 1/4. Well, the trouble with these is they don't end, and so we do not know what number to put in the denominator, so we have to come up with another way. So what you're going to do is you're going to set x equal to the part that repeats. And so from there, I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 10x, and so, or just 10. And so what that will do is it'll move the decimal point over one space to the right. So we're going to have a 4 in the ones place, but we still have the repeating decimal at the end, because that repeating decimal goes on forever and ever and ever. So from this point, what we can do is we can subtract x from both sides. Well, I subtract x from this side, and x equals 0.4 repeating, so I'm going to subtract that from this side as well. And what that does is it cancels out the part that repeats. So I'm just left with 9x equals 4. From this point, I divide by 9, and I get the answer. X is equal to 4/9. So let's take a look at the next one. And again, we can check that answer here by pulling up a calculator and just plugging in those numbers. 4 divided by 9, you can see how the 4's repeat. So we'll check the next one after we're done here, and what's different about this is we don't have the 6 right next to the decimal point. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just leave the -1 off. Just worry about the decimal portion. This is going to be -1 and then some sort of number here, some sort of mixed number. We're just not sure what these two values are yet. But that's going to be what our answer is. So I'm going to just set x equal to the part that repeats, the 0.06 and the 6 repeating. So if I do that, this time, in order to get the decimal point to the right of the 6, I've got to multiply by 100. That'll move it 2 spaces over, so it's going to look like this. 6 point, and then 6, 6 repeating. So the 6 is repeating. The reason I wrote out this extra 6 is because you'll see I have to line up decimals, and I just want the part that repeats to cancel. And so I just moved it over 2 spaces again, 1, 2, so you can see how the 6 is now to the left of the decimal point. And when I go ahead and subtract the x, I'm going to subtract this 0.06 repeated. So you see how the reason I wrote that extra 6 here is so that I can get these decimal points to line up, so you can see how the part that repeats will cancel. So I go ahead and do some subtraction, and I'm left with 99x equals, and then here I have to do some subtraction. I end up with 6.6. So the trouble here is that we've got, when we divide by 99, I've got a decimal in the numerator. So I'm going to get rid of that decimal by multiplying by 10 over 10. And so what that leaves me with is 66 over 99. And then I can just take out the common factor. So we could start with a 3, and actually it looks like 33 is going to end up going into both these numbers, 11 and 3. And so when we do that division, we're left with 3, and we're left with 9. So at this stage, I ended up making a little error when I went ahead and did that division. And actually, when I did the multiplication, 99 times 10, I forgot to add the extra 0 here, so I'm going to squeeze that in. So it should be 66 and over 990. So I'm going to divide by that 33, and I end up with 2. So 33 goes into 66 2 times. 33 goes into 99 3 times, but then I have that 0. And so I go ahead and reduce this one more time, dividing it by 2. and I'm left with 1 over 15. So let's check. And so what we've got is 1 in the numerator, 15 in the denominator, so it's going to be negative 1 and 1/15. Let's see if that ends up being correct. So if we just do the 1 divided by 15, we should get the part that we want, which we see 0.0 and then the 6 repeated. They added this extra 7 because the calculator ended up rounding it up to a 7 for that last number. But it does continue on with 6 forever. So let's take a look at the next one. What's different about this is that we have a 2 instead of a 0 here, but we do it the same way. Again, I'm just going to kind of ignore the 2 in the ones place for now. Just set the x equal to 0.23 repeated. Multiplying by 100 is going to move the decimal over 2 spaces, 1, 2. So it's going to be 2 point, and again it goes over 1, 2. And I'll end up having, actually I'll just multiply by 10 in this case here. If we just go by 10, I think that'll work out. And I think I probably could have just ended up multiplying the last one by 10 as well. So I'll just go ahead and multiply by 10. And that's going to give me 2.3 repeated. So I just want the extra 3 in there so I can see how that 3 cancels out. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract the x from both sides. So when I do that, I'll go ahead and subtract the 2 and the 3 here. And then you'll see how the 3's end up canceling out. So we go ahead and do some work there. That's 9x equals 3's end up canceling out here. I do some subtraction and I'm left with 2.1. So when I do that division, divide by 9, you see how I get x equals. Now I'm going to multiply this by 10 over 10 to move that decimal point over, so it becomes 21 over 90. So I'll just take out that common factor of 3 from each of these terms, so I'm left with 7 over 30. And so 7/30ths is the fraction portion, so 2 and 7/30ths. So let's just check and make sure we got that number correct. If we divide 7 by 30, we should get the 0.2 and then those 3's repeating. Well, let's check out the last type of problem. What's a little bit different about this is that we've got 2 numbers that are repeating, so both the 4 and the 3. So on this one, I'm going to set x equal to 0.43 repeated, and I'm going to do the same thing. This one I am going to multiply by 100 this time, and that'll move the decimal 2 spaces, 1, 2, make it 43.43 repeated. So when I do the same thing, I'm subtracting the x, subtract the 0.43 repeated, and that's the whole idea, is to get rid of the part that repeats so that we don't have that anymore. And so what I'm left with is that 99x equals 43. So you just have the one step, divide by 99, and no common factors there, so 43/99. Let's just check that answer real quick, see if that ends up working out. So if we do 43 divided by 99, we'll see the 0.43's, and they repeat. So yes, that is right. So let's take a look at our last one here. And this one just has the 1 out in front of it, so we do the same thing. I'm going to kind of ignore the 1 for now and just write x equals 0.54 repeated. So I'll do the same thing, multiply by 100, and that'll move the decimal 2 spaces over, so I still have the 54 repeating, and I'll subtract the x from both sides, take out the part that repeats, and now we're left just with 99x equals 54. So when I divide by 99, I'll take out that common factor, and I see that 3 goes into these, but there's something bigger, so let me go ahead and pull out that 9 that's in these 2 numbers. And I think I could probably even pull out something larger than that. So let's see what we got here. 6 over 11. So that's what our answer is. So we're going to have 1 and 6/11. So let's just double check, make sure it matches. So if I go ahead and plug in 6 divided by 11, you'll see how we get the 0.54 repeating. So those are the types of problems that you're going to see on tonight's assignment. Good luck.